What's happening? I haven't gone live here on YouTube in a long time. I don't even know. I did a live where I was going over my thought digit pillar chart. I think this is probably backwards. Yep, it's backwards because I got the camera flipped to where I can see the screen. And whenever I've done lives on Instagram, my phone will just shut. The camera will just stop filming, and I went a whole 30 minutes doing a live video, and I wasn't even recording anything. So, but I'm gonna let some people hop on. If you want to grab your calculators, your geometric calculators, your notes. I got a plane that's been flying over me like every 2 minutes, every 3 minutes. This plane's just going in circles. Um, yeah, rich people just flying over me 100 times a day. So yeah, I wanted to tell you folks my story of how I created the Thoth the Jed Pillars, and where is this guy? Jeez, that plane is so annoying. Just driving in circles. Literally, this plane's made probably like 50 circles today. It's like, dude, how many go fly around? I'm over here in Sedona. It's a giant, beautiful town, and yeah, they could be flying like all over the place, but they're just flying in circles. So I'm gonna flip the camera around and go over this Thoth the Jed pillar chart, because before I left on my mission a year ago, I left on November 4th, and before that, I channeled the Thoth the Jed pillars. And if you've seen any of my videos from the beginning of this whole entire thing, whenever I first started this channel over a year ago, I just built these Thoth the Jed pillars from reading the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. I was studying this book and the Kabbalion for months. I'd read the book countless times. I'd listened to the audiobook countless times. I was reading the Kabbalion and really questioning all the principles, like the principle of gender, and I just had hundreds of questions in my mind. And once I first finally started just getting the thoughts out of my head and writing everything down, that's whenever I was able to see all of my thoughts on paper and empty the mind, which I had 100 questions in there reading the Kabbalion. And once I got everything out, I filled up front and 2 pages front to back, and yeah, my mind was empty now, and I was like zooming out and seeing all of my thoughts on paper, and I was like, huh. After reading it for a couple days and letting it process with an empty mind, just knowing that all those thoughts were on paper now, questions started to answer themselves. And it was the principle of gender, the law of gender in the Kabbalion, that really I had the most questions for, because it had nothing to do with genitals, and it was about the negative cathode pulling in the negative electrons, and that's the feminine, and the positive anodes pushing out the electrons, and that's the masculine. The positive is the masculine. So grasping that concept, it was it was like a membrane that I had to peel myself through and get through it by going through this process that lasted months before I actually started writing everything down and seeing it all on paper. And yeah, once I got through that membrane, I realized, like, that the law of gender is actually the law of reciprocity, because the feminine is taking in the creation. So your intuition, your feeling, that's what's absorbing the things that you're observing, right? And that's generating new versions of self. And to manifest those new versions of self, or whether it's just an idea or a new version of self, it takes the masculine action, the masculine thought. So masculine is the action, feminine is the intuition, the feeling, the observation, the intake of the information. So it's like the circle is the portal where that photon of light is entering. Photon is the light, so that's the masculine entering the circle and it's creating the creation. So it's a combination of both, but what's happening with the knowledge and the language, with this reality that we're living here with the English language and the alphabet, we this is what I was channeling in the very beginning and couldn't put it into words and couldn't comprehend what Thoth and Horus were trying to show me. So the circle being the feminine, the word nine is in the word feminine, the word line is in masculine. So the masculine is the line, the circle is the feminine. So in the language, the masculine is dominating and claiming all of creation and basically shunning the circle. So you can see this in just all the phallus worshiping, like the cross being two masculines or masculine lines crossing and intersecting. If that was in a cube form, cube unfolds into the cross. So the Ankh is the circle giving birth to the cross. That's the ancient Kemetic way of how they interpreted the circle was giving birth to the line, and that's the way. So the alphabet, the A and the L start the alphabet. Al, Phi. Phi is projection, 1.618. That's the projection. You see Phi in everything because everything that's been created has that number, 1.618. That's the projection in the reality. So A through L is 1 through 12 in the alphabet, like 12 notes in music. And how do they teach you how to learn how do you learn how to memorize this alphabet? They teach you a song, the ABCs, and then the language, La, that's the solfeggio tone for the note A. So La equals A, and L, A, that's the Freemason compass. The Freemason compass and the square. So the Freemason compass and the square. The compass is the masculine tool. It's a man-made tool that draws circles and claims all creation. If you draw a circle around the letter A, which is the compass, it's anarchy. If you even say the word revolution, which just means a circle, it sounds like war. If you look up the definition for revolution, it'll say it's a circle, but it'll say when the people organize together and take down the ruler. What's a ruler? It's the masculine. So this play on words with the spelling, words or spells, and the way that this is just shunned. So let's look at the what's the note in music that represents the feminine, the feminine? 9 hertz. That would be the solfeggio tone Re. Like Remo getting slayed. The story of Romo slaying his twin brother Remo. The fall of the Roman Republic. The Republic falls. Remo is being slayed. And this is happening in 44 BC. So this is what happened. I channeled that 181 symbol back on 519, and it was 11 days after I channeled that we're in the ninth harmonic of the photon belt on 5/9, the day that I researched the story of the Lemuria. Romo slays his twin brother Remo, and I just got back from Moab, and I was on the phone with my mother for 4 hours, and this is on 5/8, the day before the Lemuria, and she's telling me how she lived in Rome for 9 years, and she's like, yeah, I used to see this statue of Romo and Remo suckling off the wolf mother, and I was like, what the fuck is this? She's like, you should research the story. And I was intrigued. I went the next day and researched the story, and it was the day of the first day of the celebration, 5/9 the Lemuria, and I was like a slap in the face to where it was such a huge synchronicity to where I was like, this is weird. This is very strange. And so researching the story, seeing how Romo slays his twin brother Remo, the Republic falls, and I didn't connect that Ray the solfeggio tone equals 9 hertz in the Divine Feminine yet. That was a year later, but that same day, I posted this. I posted that story that I researched that on my Instagram, and I also posted the same day a chart of the 440 hertz and the 432 hertz like it's a chart showing 432 hertz and 440 hertz, and it shows the 12 harmonics between the two. And I just posted that, and I wrote, "We are in the ninth harmonic of the photon belt, allowing us a glimpse through this altered 44 hertz frequency simulation." And I didn't even realize what I'd wrote until I went back months later, and everything had already happened with channeling the Jed pillars and the 181. And so I went back and saw that months later, and I was like, dude, you had the answer right there. The answer was right there in my face in the whole entire time. And I couldn't see it until, I don't think I noticed it until a year later after posting that. So Romo slaying his twin brother Remo in 44 BC. So if you take apart the word Romo, Ro, the etymology of Ro means man, Mo means more. So more man is slaying more Ray. The masculine slays the feminine. More man is slaying more Ray when Ray is 9 hertz, the divine feminine. So 432 hertz. The universe is a giant cosmic womb, and it vibrates at 432 hertz. It's made up of 9 solfeggio tones. 4 plus 3 plus 2 equals 9. That's the digital root of 432 hertz. So 9 hertz is the divine feminine. And for Ray to be slayed and the Republic to fall in 44 BC, insinuating 44 hertz. So 5-9, the Lemuria, it's a code within itself, and it's really actually quite simple. So 590 minutes equals 950 in time when the date 44 equals 95 days on leap year. 44 BC, the date 44, 44 hertz. So 5 hours and 90 minutes. We're talking about the Lemuria on 5-9. So 5 hours and 90 minutes equals 630 in time when the date 630 equals 181 days, like the Lemuria 181. So Romo slaying his twin brother Remo, you could say that 1-8-1. One eats the other one. In the dog eat dog world, they're both suckling off of a wolf mother. That's a dog. So before that happened, before I channeled that we're in the ninth harmonic of the photon belt, I'm going to rewind back before I actually channeled the 181 11 days later on 519, which 11 days equals 3.01% of the year. 11 days equals 3.01% of a year, when 181 minutes equals 301 in time. 11, the twins. L, E, L, L, Evan. 11 days equals 3.01% of a year, when 181 minutes equals 301 in time. Romo slays a twin brother Remo, 181. I'm just going to go ahead and finish the story. So 11 days later, on 519, I channeled that 181 symbol. And the crazy thing is that it was on the 139th day of the year, 519, the day that I channeled that 181, so 11 days after 5-9, when I channeled the ninth harmonic of the photon belt, when 99 hertz is the ninth harmonic of the photon belt, and 99 minutes equals 139 in time. On the 139th day, I channeled the 181. So this is the electromagnetic frequency. If you turn 181 on its side, it's a torus. The torus is the electromagnetic frequency. If you look at the Earth's geomagnetic field, it's a torus. It's electromagnetic. So to channel that, the light on that day, and why do I say that it's electromagnetic? Because 181 days equals 5 months and 28 days, like 528, the precise center of the electromagnetic color spectrum. So channeling the light on 519 and already having this much synchronicity Walter Russell, he wrote the book The Secret of Light. He knew that, he believed and wrote about light being conscious. He was born on 519. He passed away on 519. So now let's rewind back to whenever I got the Thoth tarot cards, I bought the Thoth Emerald Tablets book, and I bought the Book of the Law. That was the only Crowley book that I ever bought and read, and the only reason I bought that is because I noticed that the Crowley tarot cards were created by him, so I thought it just made sense. So I started out reading that book. I was gonna do a tarot card reading with the Thoth tarot cards. Whenever I opened it up, at this point, I still didn't even know who Thoth was. I still hadn't read the Emerald Tablets. I didn't even actually have the Emerald Tablets just yet. I met somebody that told me that I needed to buy that book whenever I told them that I got those tarot cards. So I bought these tarot cards, I opened them up, and I read the pamphlet. And the first thought was, what did I get myself into? I think these are a little too advanced for me. And honestly thought that they were way over my head because I didn't understand any of it. So I put the cards away and ended up buying the Emerald Tablets and the Book of the Law, and I start reading the Book of the Law on the day 4/8 of 2021, and I get to this part in the book where Crowley is channeling Horus, the falcon sun god, in Cairo, Egypt, and he says it's 4/8, it's 1904, and it's noon sharp, and I'm channeling Horus. And it's like, oh, I want to start documenting my date and time, and so I go to grab my phone and look at the time. It's noon sharp, and it's 4/8, the date, and I just literally almost shit my pants and sat there and documented this thing, just having that same feeling of this was before channeling the ninth harmonic on 5/9 the Lemuria, whenever I researched the story of Romo and Remo, and that ended up being 9 hertz. Ray equals 9 hertz. The same day that I channeled the ninth harmonic. That shit's crazy. That shit twists my fucking heart. So on 4/8, noon sharp, channeling Horus, the fucking sun god, and it's precisely 117 years after Crowley had channeled him. He's in Egypt. We're talking about Horus, the falcon sun god. The granite sarcophagus in the king's chamber measures 117 hertz. 48 days equals 6 weeks, and 6 days equaling 1 month, and 17 days, like 117. So this number was just like shitting itself in synchronicities all over the place after I had this experience. So if you're one of these people like, oh, he's channeling Horus and he's doing tarot card, he's worshiping the devil, he's worshiping Saturn. It's like, no, I've been investigating this shit. I've been investigating sacred truth for the past 17 years. And if you want to blame me for anything, I'll just throw this at you. So there's 37 degrees in Freemasonry, right? And if we write the word Leo, write the word Leo in capital letters and flip it upside down. Now it's 37 degrees in Freemasonry, right? So Leo, the lion, he's holding the flower of life. There's 61 circles in the flower of life. When 370 minutes equals 610 in time, and 61 minutes equals 101 in time. Like your 101 portal, because the date 1/1 can be written as 1/1 or 101. We can write Thoth like THOTH. That's a positive 1. That's a negative 1. Circle a positive one, and a negative one. It spells Thoth. We're using sigil symbols to write, and it's showing that's the masculine, that's the feminine. That's the masculine, that's the feminine. So if you take apart the word Thoth, I know this is backwards, but I know, folks, let's just flip this thing around for a sec. So if we take apart the word Thoth, Thoth, we get 5 sets of 11s. 5 times 11 equals 55. The 11th Fibonacci equals 55. So he's showing us the halls of Amenti right there, showing us the 11th Fibonacci, which is 55. 5.5 plus 5.5 equals 11. So this ends up being lined up at the chi whenever I mirrored the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, the 7, the 8, and the 9 from the halls of Amenti. This created the Thoth-Jid pillars, and I mirrored them, the 33, the 44, the 55, 66, 77, the 88. I got videos of how I built this already on here, so I'm not gonna, oh, so I didn't even flip that. See, this is what I do, so I'm gonna go over that again. I'm just gonna do it backwards. I know that you guys can see this, so I'm glad that I flipped this thing back, because I've done whole videos where I'll record for 30 minutes and just be off screen and you'll just hear me talking about nothing. So Thoth, taken apart, creates 5 sets of 11s. That's the halls of Amenti. So if these were to be curved lines, these represent the Kundalini within. Those curved lines, it's still 11. Those are just representing 11, 22, 33, 44, 55. The 11th Fibonacci equals 55. So for 55 to line up here at the solar plexus, where I have videos where I've explained building this many times. So yeah, the 55 lines up with 528 hertz here at the solar plexus. 528 hertz, that's the precise center of the electromagnetic color spectrum. And 55, the 55th octave above sound, is light. The date that lines up with the date 55 equals 126 days on leap year. 126, the frequency of the sound of the sun is 126 hertz. 126, flip it backwards, it's 621. That's the summer solstice, the longest day of sunlight. So we're talking about the light, and the L11th Fibonacci number, L, electromagnetic. See how much synchronicity is going on with that shit? So let's get back here, because whenever I did this, I started out with Aries is actually Shu, which is the circle giving birth to the line, which is actually the 9, because we're digesting 9s, rather than this thing like dripping its war ideas of war gods and war narratives into our precious source mind. So our crown is Thoth. Take away the positive and negative and the 0. You got your 1111, your crown. 1111 divided by 99 equals 1122. Right there. 1122 divided by 99 equals 1133. 1111 by 99 equals 1144. This keeps going on to where these torus wheels are just digesting this 99, which the 9th harmonic of the photon belt is 9 hertz mirrored, which is 99. So we're digesting this photon, which is 9 hertz. The frequency of the sun is 126 hertz. 1 plus 2 plus 6 equals 9. So we're digesting this 99. When we get to 1177 divided by 99 equals 1188. And this is where something changes. This is 1188 hertz. I know this is backwards, but you folks are super intelligent, and I believe in you. 1188 divided by 99 equals 12. Like 12, like how we have 12 cranial nerves, and our sacrum has 4 holes on each side of it. So 4 and 4 connected to those 12 cranial nerves. 44 hertz times your 12 cranial nerves equals 528 hertz. Your solar plexus is charged. So the base of the Pyramid of Egypt measures 440 cubits, and the Queen's Chamber measures 11.88 cubits, including the gable. So The reason it's called the Queen's Chamber is because 1188, 1 plus 1 plus 8 plus 8 equals 18, 1 plus 8 equals 9. That's the 27th. 1188 hertz is the 27th harmonic in 44 hertz, so it's the bridge out into 432 hertz, if you are aware of 432 hertz knowledge and how this whole system works here. So I started off with Shu being up top, and rather than Aries, and the Taurus ends up being here at 88. The twins, Gemini, ends up being here at the throat chakra, lining up with our twin and triangular enfoldings of the throat, which cause vibration. 69, Cancer, lines up here at the heart chakra with 1144 hertz. And here we have Leo, Leo, mirror and flip. You get the number 37, and here at the solar plexus we have 37 genes of the mitochondrial genome. 13 of those genes are responsible for providing instructions for oxidative phosphorylation, happening within a 5-star mitochondrial matrix. A hydron, it's like a hydroelectric power plant. Hydrogen ions are being pumped through this membrane, and this has to do with our body absorbing and ionizing electrolytes like bicarbonate and sodium and salts and whatnot, and this is what gives us conductivity and helps produce ATP, adenosine triphosphate, and this mitochondrial matrix creating oxidative phosphorylation, our inner sonoluminescence, if you will, our inner bioluminescence. 528 hertz, the precise center of the electromagnetic color spectrum. So our DNA being liquid crystal and piezoelectric, quartz crystals naturally vibrating at 32,768 beats per second. Then sound ends in the human ear, and electrical ultrasonic acoustic waves begin connecting to your DNA. So ultrasonic acoustic waves, have you ever seen an ultrasound machine? How they have this machine that's using piezoelectric crystal technology, the same technology that's in your skin, your proteins, your hair, your teeth, your bones, your DNA, your everything. Your eyeballs are liquid crystals. You squeeze on these motherfuckers, you'll see interference pattern. You'll see light without light entering your eye. Those are called phosophenes, like oxidative phosphorylation, phosphorus. So those 37 genes of the mitochondrial genome, Leo, upside down, being 037, Leo the lion holds his paw on the sacred ancient flower of life. There's 61 circles in the flower of life. 61 minutes equals 101 in time. 370 minutes equals 610 in time. The atomic mass of hydrogen is 1.01, like 61 minutes equaling 101 in time. So 61 circles in the flower of life. 13 of those circles make up the fruit of life, just like 37 genes of the mitochondrial genome, and 13 of those genes are responsible for making up or providing the instructions for oxidative phosphorylation happening in that 5-star mitochondrial matrix. So it's an inner membrane to where there's a feminine side and a masculine side. The feminine side's sucking in the hydrogen ions, and the masculine side is pumping out the charged protons, and this is what's creating the oxidative phosphorylation within. So, where was I going with that? Or was that where I was going with that? Brain farts. We'll see, it'll come back. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep talking about how I took thought apart and got these 11s, right? And 11 days equals 3.01% of the year, and 181 minutes equals 301 in time. So the 11th Fibonacci 55, 550 days equals 18 months and 1 day, like 181. 181 days equals 5 months and 28 days, like 528. So see how it just keeps stacking and basically proving that there's this other mathematics about electromagnetics and sigil mathematics going on here. Because, so if I were just to stack these curved lines in place of these numbers are just the sigils and the values for these curved lines that have just been taken apart. So when we get into the golden angle, I know this is backwards, but I trust you folks. This is backwards. This is 137.5. It's good to learn how to read from right to left and left to right. Work on your ambidextrousness. So 137.5 times 8, this could be a sigil of the DNA. That could be a sigil of the first or second fundamental in music, where it's those are just two waves, the first fundamental and your second fundamental. So 137.5, the number of broken space-time symmetry and photon absorption, the golden angle, times your first fundamental, or your second fundamental, or what was I saying? Oh, your DNA sigil, or sigil of your Kundalini, equals 110 hertz. That's your root harmonic of 440 hertz in the second octave. So now we're talking about harmonics in music and broken space-time symmetry, and the sigil of Thoth, the 11th harmonic, being 55, and now all that connects. So 8 times 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8, 5 times in parentheses, times 137.5 equals 550. So this is a giant pyramid. 110 hertz, 220 hertz, 330 hertz. If you go into a crystal shop and look through a sound bowl book, it'll show you the chart. Well, I have it right here. So it's going in increments of 8. 137.5 times 8 equals 110 hertz. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 55, or 50. Is that right? Yeah, 56. Couldn't see that for a second. So those are the same numbers. 110 hertz, 220, 330, 440, 550, 660. These are the same numbers that are making up this Djed pillar system here, right? So let's get back into the story of how I channeled Horus on 4/8, and then the whole 37 degrees in Freemasonry. Why did I even bring up the whole Leo and the 37 degrees in Freemasonry? Because we're talking about how I channeled Horus, and the question of is this motherfucker channeling the devil? Is he channeling some like evil light or some shit? It's like I was wondering the same thing. Like, am I being tricked into some shit? And I want to just go over this before I even start the story of how I left on my mission. So, Leo flipped upside down is 037, how I showed you. 370 minutes equals 610 in time. There's 61 circles in the flower of life. Leo, the lion, is holding the flower of life when 61 minutes equals 101 in time, right? So I channeled Horus on 4/8, the falcon sun god of Egypt. And who's on the dollar? Horus. That eagle is representing Horus with the eye in the pyramid. That's the eye of Horus there. So 101, January 1st, Janus, the god of doorways. 101, January 1st, plus 3 months and 7 days, like 37 degrees in Freemasonry, equals 4/8, the day I channeled Horus. So this number 48, after deep, deep research and going through the depths of the devil's anus and all through hell around all of these mining towns, researching all this shit, I finally figured out that it's just the bridge in and out of 432 hertz, or the bridge in and out of 44 hertz. And if you're unaware of 432 hertz music and somebody else is controlling the narrative, you're going to just keep going right back into that 440 hertz frequency with this 480 hertz bridge here. So 101 plus 3 months and 7 days equals the date 48. We're talking about 37 degrees in Freemasonry here. So 37 times 48 equals 1776. That's the year that the U.S. was founded, in 1776. George Washington was a Freemason from the Fredericksburg, Virginia Lodge, and it was founded there. They claimed their independence on 7/4, July 4th, Independence Day, when 37 degrees in Freemasonry times 2 equals 74. So let's keep this theme going here. 101 plus 4 months and 7 days. So 101 plus 3 months and 7 days equals 48, right? So let's keep that theme going. 101 plus 4 months and 101 plus 4 months and 8 days equals 59, the Lemuria. I channeled Horus on 4/8, and then on 5/9 I channeled that we're in the ninth harmonic of the photon belt, and that's when I researched the story of Romo slaying his twin brother Remo, and the Republic falling, and Re equals 9 hertz, and that was the same day I channeled the ninth harmonic, and the ninth harmonic is 99 hertz, and 99 minutes equals 139, and 11 days later, on the 139th day, I channeled the 181 frequency, when 99 minutes equals 139 in time. What the fuck? So 11 days later, 11 days equals 3.01% of the year, when 181 minutes equals 301 in time. Now, two months and 20 days later, on 8/8 is when I channeled the thought to Jet Pillars, building this shit here, not knowing what the fuck it was, not knowing what the 181 was yet. I had no clue what any of this was. I thought I did. I thought I knew some shit, and I was trying to teach it as I was building it and just shooting myself in the foot. But it was good practice. So 2 months and 20 days later, on 8/8, I channeled the Thoth to Jet Pillars, when Thoth is related to the planet Mercury, and it takes the planet Mercury 88 days to travel annually around the sun. It takes Mercury 59 days to make one full spin, like the Lemuria on 5/9. So for 8/8 to equal 228 days, and that to be 2 months and 20 days after 5/19, channeling the 181 frequency, when 22 days equals 528 hours, and 181 days equals 5 months and 28 days. So the level of synchronicity here that we're dealing with here, kids, is off the fucking charts. And yeah, I almost lost my mind. Can't even count how many times. So many times. This mission has had lots of ups and downs. There's been days where I just wanted to leave Earth. Many days. And there's days where I'm just in full fascination by all the synchronicity that's super overwhelming, and I didn't want to teach any of this stuff until I was right where I'm at right now. And I just had to gather everything and organize everything. And it was basically my masculine organizing my intuition, because I'm a skeptic of my own intuition. So 101 plus 3 months and 7 days, 37 degrees in Freemasonry. 101 plus 3 months and 7 days equals 4/8. That's when I channeled Horus. 101 plus 4 months and 8 days equals 5/9. That's when I channeled the ninth harmonic of the photon belt and researched the story of Romo slaying his twin brother Remo. Remo falls. The Republic falls. Re equals 9 hertz. 11 days later, on 5/19, I channeled the 181 frequency. 2 months and 20 days later, on 8/8, I channeled the Thoth to Jet Pillars. So after all of that, I'm researching all of this stuff and trying to figure out what all of it means. And months go by, and I realized that I was counting in increments of 11, and so 33, or 11 plus 22, 11 plus 11 equals 22, plus 11 equals 33, plus 11 equals 44, so we're going in increments of 11, right? When we got to 99, 99 plus 11 equals 1010, or 990 plus 110 hertz, I believe, equals 1010, and plus 11 equals 11. I think that's right. Hold on a second. Working off of just memory here. 11 times 11 equals 121. And that's what I did. I remember doing that. So, increments of 11. 11 times 9 equals 99. 11 times 11 equals 121. And 99 plus 121 equals 1111. I don't know even how I did that. Like some of the things that I did building this thing, I had no explanation for, but I didn't fix it because everything was working. So check this out. I'm going to show you how I connected the calendar system with this thing. So when I got to the crown at 1111, I just kept that same theme going of counting in increments of 11. 1111 plus 11 equals 1122, and I line that up with the third eye going down. So we're going down, and then we come back up. So we're basically creating a torus, because this, you can go down through this system and come back up through this system, and then you can come down through this outside front part of these are located in the front of the aura, and this 33 section is the soil. The base of the pyramid being 440 cubits, so that's the top of the soil. So anything under here is underground. So all your seeds, your thought seeds of absorbing that photon, that's a thought, that's an idea. You think about that shit a bunch of times until it gains density and plants itself as a seed here in your inner soil. You water this thing and nurture this thing, and it sprouts and becomes energy. This is where your ego and your emotions, and where you're turning things into what matters most to you. And once it's becoming full of energy, it sprouts into the next dimension and becomes plasma, the fourth state of matter, which that's a gas, a liquid, and a solid. We absorb ionized gas from the sun, plasma, photons, and it's absorbed into our proteins, and our proteins, there's plasma within our blood. That's the next stage of matter or this next stage for plasma, and then we manifest that shit into plasma. And with our 55, 5, and 5, where we create ideas into reality. Think about sewing a sock, then you go and sew a sock, and you've made something that was just an idea. So this counting increments of 11. 1111 plus 11 equals 1122, plus 11 equals 1133, plus 11 equals 1144, plus 11 equals 1155, plus 11 equals 1166, plus 11 equals 1177 here down at the root. Now we're going to go back up. 1177 plus 11 equals 1188. 1188 plus 11 equals 1199, plus 11 equals 1210, plus 11 equals 1221, plus 11 equals 1232, ending this system at the third eye to the root, where we're actually absorbing light and sound. So the date, this is backwards, that's 1232. So if you could imagine the date 1231 being the last day of the year, so 1232 would be 101, January 1st, right? 1221, that's your winter solstice. 1221 hertz equals 1221. 1210, that's December 10th. So 1210 lines up with the date December 10th. And now 1199 lines up with the date 1129, because there is no 1199. So this is when I started having to count back into the calendar system. So 1199 lined up with the date 1129, and we're here at the solar plexus, right? Resolution 181, 181 days equals 5 months and 28 days, and 550 days equals 18 months and 1 day, like 181, like resolution 181. That happened on 1129 in your Indian reflective 528 and 1830. Just throwing those out there real quick. I'll get into it though. So, where was I at? So, oh yeah. The date 1118 lined up with 1188 hertz. That's my birthday. The 322nd day of the year, like the skull and bones. I promise you I'm not a skull and bones, but this is probably why I'm able to tap into all of their altered frequencies and their little Masonic codes and investigate their stories. But yeah, so 1177 lined up with the date 11/7, November 7th. Now we're going backwards. This is usually coming down, but whenever I connected this to the calendar, I was going backwards through the system. So let's just go up to, let's skip up away. At 1144 hertz, the date lined up with 1005, and the date that lined up with 77, or the date that lined up with 1133 here at the throat chakra, ended up being the date 924. So I'm going to stop right here, because now that we know that 924 lines up with here at 1133 hertz here at the throat chakra, where 741 hertz is, and 1221 the winter solstice is. So I built this a year before I found this shit out. So a year later, I found out that 77 years equals 924 months. Like 924, the date lining up with 1133 hertz. And 77 minutes equals 1221 in time. Like, these all lining up here at the throat chakra. So whenever I found that out, it was another shit your pants moment, to where she's like, what the fuck is this? What did I build? I don't even know what this thing is for. So yeah, let's get into the actual story. Now that you see like the things that were going on with that. So I left on my mission back in November 4th of 2023. So I've been living in my Jeep for over a year now, investigating, and I didn't plan this. This happened so fast and unexpectedly. I had a sushi catering company I ran for 11 years, and I just had to shut everything down. I sold and gave away everything that I had, and packed everything that I had just in the Jeep, and just literally jumped in the current of the unknown, not knowing shit, and just the money that I had, it was gone by February. So November, December, January, February lasted me four months, and ever since the end of February, so November, December, January, February, yeah, so 4 months of not having to depend on anybody. Ever since March, I've been relying on donations and picking up little odd jobs here and there, but I've had to focus all of my energy to really investigate this. And like I said, I didn't plan anything that I did. Whenever I left, I just all I knew, I was going to the Four Corners, and then I was going to decide from there where to go, and that was my only plan, and that's what I did. But so 2 months before I left, that's when I found Resolution 181, and I channeled that symbol, the 181, and then now I'm finding the symbol and connecting it with the colonization. And my niece, she, like a month later, after finding that, before I even left, she sends me this document of my ancestor Luisa Vivancos on my mother's side. She was enslaved by the encomienda system. So the encomienda system was released in 1503 by the Spanish crown, and it gave the right for Spanish colonists or conquistadors to go in and show this little encomienda paper, be like, we're here to get the gold, and you guys can either like be our slaves and work for us, or we can genocide you. And so my ancestor Luisa Vivanco, she ended up marrying the Spanish conquistador fishing captain, and that's what this document said. It was very generalized, but I could pretty much imagine the situation. She was probably just wanting to just live and not be messed with. It's like, I'll just marry this person and live a okay life. She probably saw some people just get genocided, and yeah, I'm sure a lot of people married the colonialists just to in fear of their lives, and just wanting to live in some type of comfort. People were stealing their land. So come means 8, like 181. Comienda means supper, like the Last Supper. I'd later find out that the Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci measures 181 inches. The Last Supper was on 4-2, like the 42nd prime being 181. So we have that there. Remember, I channeled Horus on 4-8. The golden angle, 137.5 times 4.8 equals 660 hertz. The date 4-2 lines up with 66 hertz on my chart. So for all of that shit to line up, it's stupid. So yeah, I found the resolution 181. I got evicted a month later, literally on the date 10/7, the date that they would go to start genociding and colonizing Gaza Strip because of the domino effect of Resolution 181. So the fact that I got my eviction notice on 10/7, the same day that they got their eviction notice, because of Resolution 181, and I channeled the 181 symbol in these people's houses, and I knew that the people that I was renting from were all into this Masonic occult shit. So I was basically picking up the frequency of being colonized. That 181 symbol that I channeled, it was also the symbol of Odin. Odin's inherit the land. His symbol represents the letter O, and it stands for inherit the land. He's the male war god, the guardian of 9 realms, like the 9 solfeggio tones within. So for a male war god like him and Aries to be representing the circle, and Aries to be in the woman's ovaries, his name literally is in ovaries, O-V Aries, and his symbol is the ovaries. And he starts the 0 degrees mark, and the zodiac wheel is one big giant circle. So he's got the circle, the 0 degrees, and the entire circle that he's starting. Male war god starting the shit. And the male isn't holding the baby for 9 months. So it's like you jizz for 1 minute. That jizz goes in a straight line. It takes 1 minute to jizz and to be dominating the creation. And it's like, you owe me a baby. I just put my seed in you, and now you owe me a baby. So the word O-W-E, just add a W-E to that thing, and now it's got debt on it. So the vowel to L system in the alphabet, it's a giant mockery of the circle. And yeah, so I left on my mission on 11/4 and got to the Four Corners and was standing in the center of Colorado, Nevada, Utah, and New Mexico or Arizona. I think it might have been actually all 5 of them. I don't know. But from there, that's whenever I drove through the Navajo Nation, through Arizona, got to San Diego, passed through all the different reservations, like the Hopi Reservation, the Navajo, the yeah. Whenever I got to San Diego, saw the beach, and Scout saw the beach for the first time, and he's passed out. He loved the beach, and we basically just soaked up the beach for a few days, and I didn't know what I was doing there quite yet, and that's whenever I decided I'm gonna go on my Google Maps, and I typed in Masonic lodges in the area, and about 100 Mason lodges popped up, and I was like, holy shit. It's like, that's a lot of Mason lodges. I left Salt Lake back on 11/4, and there's only one Mason lodge that I knew of in Salt Lake. To see 100 and something just all around the area, I was like, oh my god. I'm in Masonville, and Finkel's the mayor. So I go to the first Mason lodge, and I get there, and I go take a picture of the Freemason symbol on the gate, and I take a picture of the address. The address was 511, and the lodge number was 381, and I recognized the 381 from the star mathematics, because 381 minutes equals 611 in time, like the summer solstice, 621. So I saw that they're using the light and all the mocking of the light with the 550 hertz that I'd already connected 181 with 5 months and 28 days, and I knew that there was something going on with 528 hertz and 181, because I knew that the 181 was a sigil of our inner magnetics, our inner kundalini. So if you could imagine the number 11, if I was to put a magnet bar right here and a magnet bar right there, and it looks like just the number 11, but the positive poles on the top on this side and the negative poles on the top on this side, so they're opposing each other. So it's just two 11s, right? They're opposing 11s. If I was to throw metal shards at this shit, it would create the figure 8 and create the 181 sigil. So that's what's going on within us, this electromagnetic system. There's 9 different dimensions of that going on within us. So I'm at that Mason Lodge, and that's whenever I start researching the number 381 and 183, because I knew that there was 183 days that separate the longest day of sunlight from summer solstice 621 to 1221, the longest day of night, winter solstice. 183 days separates the longest day of summer solstice, the longest day of sunlight, with the longest day of night. So, and 183 mirrors 381. 381 minutes, 381 minutes equals 621 in time. So, oh, I'm reading the comments. What's up, y'all? Hi. So many people saying hi. What's up? Sorry, I don't read the comments. I need to get used to doing that. So, yeah, that Freemason Lodge numbers 381, and that's what triggered the whole. I already knew the mathematics of the sun rising. If you watch the stars rise from the eastern horizon, and this is at nighttime, if you pay attention to the constellations that are, or the star, pick a constellation, and whatever star is on the right and on the top, follow that. And it's best to start whenever, like if you were to look straight up, that's the 90-degree mark from, you're standing on 180 degrees flat ground. So the 90, like going straight up, that's your 90-degree square. If you're to set a square ruler on the ground, it's going to be pointing straight up. So this is the 90-degree masculine in the ether. And this ether is a spiritual soup, if you will. We think that this is all space. This is like fucking water. And there's a reflective mirror realm existing right here. And the solar system and the stars prove it. So if you pay attention to this constellation, the stars that are on the right and on the top, once it crosses over this 90-degree mark from the eastern horizon to the western horizon, so once it crosses over, now the star that was on the top and on the right is now on the left and on the bottom, nosediving towards the western horizon. So everything literally mirrors and flips. So on summer solstice, the longest day of sunlight on 621. This is when the sign of Cancer, the sun is transiting the sign of Cancer, and on the zodiac wheel, Cancer's sitting at the 90-degree square mark on this circle, right? So the 90-degree square mark, that's where Cancer's sitting. And on summer solstice, the sun's entering the sign of Cancer, sitting at 90 degrees square. So 621 divided by the position of Cancer that it's actually transiting, 90 degrees, equals 6.9, the sigil symbol of Cancer. And it's the 6 mirrored and flipped. The 6 is not a mirrored 9, it's mirrored and flipped, just like the stars, mirror and flip. So to take that even further, 690 minus 69 equals 621 summer solstice. So summer solstice equals 172 to 173 days, when 172 to 172 plus 173 equals 345, your Pythagorean 345 right triangle that corresponds with your 90-degree right triangle. So on my Djed Pillar cipher chart, Cancer lines up here at 1144 hertz. Summer solstice, the longest day of sunlight. This is the most electromagnetic organ in the body, the heart. And this is the longest day of sunlight. So on 1210, that equals 345 days, like 345 plus 345 equaling 690. And Summer solstice equaling 172 to 173 days. 172 plus 173 equals 345. 345 plus 345 equals 690, and 690 minus 69 equals 621. Summer solstice. Round and round we go. So this thing, whenever I got to that Mason Lodge and saw that number 381, massive download on that number 183. So I typed in the date 1830, and that's whenever the Indian Removal Act of 1830 on 528 pulled up, like Resolution 181 on 1129, lining up with 1199 hertz. So when I found the Indian Removal Act of 1830 on 528 and realized that 1830 also converts into 630, and the date 630 equals 181 days, like 181 days equaling 5 months and 28 days, like 528. So the Indian Removal Act of 1830 and Resolution 181 weren't just connecting one way, they're connecting two different ways. And at the solar plexus, more than two ways. So 1129, Resolution 181 lining up with 1199 here at the solar plexus, the Indian Removal Act of 1830 on 528, 181 days equals 5 months and 28 days. That's Resolution 181. 1830 converts into 630 when the date 630 equals 181 days. That's four fucking ways that's already connecting with just two genocidal acts that's connected to our inner light. So when I found that, this is on 11/14. So I left, so 11 days later, basically, on 11/14, I'm finding this Indian Removal Act already connecting that with Resolution 181. So by this point, I already knew that this was a mission standing against the genocidal effects of colonialism, and that's why I've been super adamant on this is the mission. These beings like Thoth and Horus and the Christ consciousness, these beings were all indigenous master builders and master technicians building buildings that would stand the test of time. And the amount of times that these places have been taken over by other civilizations that were giant empires, to where the knowledge got misinterpreted and diluted and spread, and yet the misinterpretation of the knowledge has been going on for thousands of years. And if you're not starting from the very first symbol, the circle representing the feminine, 9 hertz, we're talking about frequency, versus 1, the masculine, versus the feminine. And this isn't about pedestalizing the circle and be like, fuck the masculine, we're just gonna worship the circle now. This is about reciprocity. There's two circles. The word bi means two. Bowl is a circle. Bi bowls, that's the Taurus. The Torah, put your arms out. You're the cross. All this allegorical stories of basically plagiarizing the shit out of everything. So yeah, I leave San Diego with just what the fuck going on in my mind after finding the Indian Removal Act and connecting that with the Resolution 181. And I'm heading towards Joshua Tree now, and I find this little cool camping spot, and I get there. The guy that's running the place, his name is Desert Dave, and he just turned 74, and his birthday was 3 days ago, and he's telling me how the person that owned the campground had broken her leg because they were partying on his birthday the weekend before. And I was like, oh, my birthday's in 3 days. So his birthday was on the Saturday before mine, and mine was on the upcoming Saturday. So we're both Scorpios with birthdays really close to each other. And actually, his was on a Friday, and mine was on a Saturday, because his birthday was on 11/10, and my birthday is on 11/18. Now, I didn't ask him his birthday. He just was just like telling me this shit, and it's like, oh, your birthday is November 10th, huh? And I'd just driven from finding out that the Indian Removal Act of 1830 and connecting that with Resolution 181. And why does that matter? Because 1830 in military time equals 1110 minutes, like the days of the dead on 11/1, like Desert Dave's birthday on 11/10. At this point, I was like, shut the fuck up, universe. Like, whatever this is, just fucking tell me already. Like, why? I was pissed and, but fascinated at the same time. But I had the Twilight Zone song just playing in the back of my mind. Just, what is going on? And yeah, I stayed at this place for a few nights, and I'm on a like, I'm. This Joshua Tree is right by a freaking military base, so all the people that are coming in here and staying there, I'm like, dude, these people are fucking, they're onto my shit. Like, these are all fucking Masons, and they're all doing weird shit. I had these two ladies literally park right by my camping spot, like in this super obnoxious spot that blocked my pathway into the common area. And I told them, it's like, you guys, there's camping spots all around here, and you guys are just blocking my common area path to the common area. And they went, they came there just to burn 3 pine cones in the freaking like fire pit, and didn't put it out. They just bounced and left. So I went and hosed these things out, because the rule of the place was that you gotta put your, like, at least pour some water and put out the fire, because we're in freaking outside of Palm Springs, where it's the fucking desert. So it's like, oh, this is the burning the pine cone, the pineal gland ritual. Nice. It's like very clever. So I was on to their shit. I was being fucked with, and from this point, I was already feeling weird and all the synchronicity, and now I'm attracting these witches and shit. So like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. So got out of Palm Springs and started heading towards a friend of mine that offered me to stay. She's like, come out and stay. I'm in Garden Valley in California by Tahoe, and she offered me a place to stay as long as I wanted to. And before going out there, I wanted to stop by Santa Cruz, because I don't know, something was just pulling me towards there. And I didn't discover anything there as far as the investigation. The only thing that I discovered is just the beautiful topography of Santa Cruz. And while I was there, I drove up to Big Sur and saw the stories of the indigenous that were pushed off the lands over there. And that's whenever everything set back into where I was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, I chilled in Santa Cruz for a week and a half, just soaking up the sun and just staring out into the ocean, and basically just shutting everything off, because whenever I'm in a beautiful place like Santa Cruz and just staring at the sunrises and sunsets and just hearing waves crash and seeing people surf, and the vibe is really that's the only place in California where the vibe was just perfect. And yeah, I just shut everything off. And but after going to Big Sur and going passing back through Santa Cruz, I knew that I had to get to Garden Valley, and I didn't know what I was in for. And I start heading towards Garden Valley and pull up in there, and it's a super old school California mining town. And yeah, the place was beautiful. All the forest and the mountains and the lakes, just everything was super beautiful. But the vibe there was just so intense to where I had no I had no idea what I was getting myself into. So I get to my friend's property, and she's got 20 acres of land out in the forest, and this is like an hour away from Lake Tahoe and Truckee, all that same type of just that same vibe going on. I'm staying at my friend's house, and a week goes by or whatever, and I told her my story about how I channeled the 181 symbol and connected that with Resolution 181 and found the Indian Removal Act of 1830 and connected those two things. Like, this is a mission standing against colonization. My ancestor was enslaved by the encomienda system, and that was released in the 1500s, 1503, and the Jesuits were created in 1540, and the Gregorian calendar was created in the 1500s. So all this shit was just like starting to just really come in, and told her the story, and she was taking an advanced sociology class at the time and actually studying a lot of this same shit that I was talking about, and she knew her shit. She was a graduate from hypnotherapy school, and she had her Reiki master's license, and very, very in tune, intelligent woman that could retain a shit ton of information and then give you her like 2 cents on everything that you told her. So I tell her my story, and she like gives me this super heavy look. She's like, "I gotta take you somewhere tomorrow," and that's all she said. But just the look that she gave me, I was like, "Fucking, oh shit! I better mentally prepare." That looked like a very serious look there, because this person is just a super cool person and never had that intense look. Just saying, "I gotta take you somewhere tomorrow. Just be ready." I think it was because after telling her the story, and that was the response, and I knew that it had something to do with the story. So the next day, she takes me 15 to 20 minutes down the road, and we're in Sutter's Mill, Coloma, where James Marshall paid the first gold. Sent the California Gold Rush. And I'm sitting there, I see the first jail that was built in 1850, and I see the sign that says, "Yep, first jail was built here in Sutter's Mill, Coloma, before California even became a state. And the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 began in 1850. And all the 49ers came in 1849. And I was like, 1830 in military time equals 18.5 hours. Like the Indian Removal Act of 1830 and the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, and 1830 military time equals 18.5 hours, equaling 1110 minutes. Like the Days of the Dead on 11/1. Now, I was fucking furious. The feeling that I fucking had at that place, I felt like I'd been strangled. I felt like I had water swishing around in my brain. I felt like I was fucking dying. And to connect all three of those things and not plan any of this fucking story, just jumping in the fucking current, and that's where it took me, where these two fucking places instantly. So we get back to her house, and I literally had to go sit in the forest for, I think I sat in the forest for a couple weeks and just fucking cried and sat in this shit, just soaking up all this shit. I wanted to fucking die. I was feeling all the people that went through that shit, that wanted to die, that were hiding in the forest and running from colonists and being considered fugitives because some motherfucker came in with an encomienda. It's like, "We got this fucking treaty here that says that we're entitled to all this gold, and we've got to get all that gold. You want to help us fucking build this, or we fucking genocide you? I want that guy's wife. So get rid of him. Get his wife because I'm in love." Shit like that. Like I was seeing all kinds of fucked up kinds of shit, and I was losing my mind in the woods, just absorbing all of these things that needed to be acknowledged and heard. And the ancestors wanted these stories to be heard. Like, these are all the things that have been brushed under and facaded with stories of heroism. And these guys are the heroes. The founding fathers came in and created this place. Gold digging motherfuckers in debt came here. So, where did the word millionaire come from? What did they use to crush the gold that they were mining? A giant wheel called a mill. Like a millionaire? What were they gathering? Gold. That's a polyatomic ionic particle. Like mill ion. And what's an heir? That's the person that receives the wealth from somebody that dies. In this case, the people that they genocided. So the mill ion heir came from the California Gold Rush, 1850. So, yeah, after 2 weeks of just losing my mind in the woods, just staring at trees and just being in the trees, shitting in the woods, there was bears and bobcats, mountain lions out in this place, and yeah, just getting out of my car at night and just peeing on the side of my car. All I could see was pitch black, and there could be a bobcat or a mountain lion or a bear just right in front of me, just bite my face off for all I know. I was like, this could be my last breath, my last piss, my last day. But yeah, I made it out. Spent the night, 4 nights out of the 2 months that I stayed on her property. I just slept in the Jeep, and Scout got to live his best life for 2 months, being part of the wolf pack with four other big dogs. And yeah, he got a taste. He got a taste of the good life whenever I brought him back into the Jeep and we took off. He didn't talk to me for like a good 4 days. He was just like, fuck you, dude. It's like, just kidnapped me from my best life. So anyways, after staying in the woods and after seeing the Fugitive Slave Act, and she saw how all that shit connected too, so um, she decides to give me a card reading and do a little work on me. And she gives me this very in-depth reading that completely nails it. And I was like, man, that was a really good reading. I'm impressed. And I think she was still feeling the flow. Spirit was speaking to her or some shit, because it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna grab a random book off the shelf. I got these at a garage sale 6 months ago, so I've never opened these before. I'm just gonna open up to a random page and see what Spirit has to say. She goes and grabs a random book, and it ends up being the letter B section of a 1900s encyclopedia set. That's the only book from the encyclopedia set that she got from this garage sale. Just throw that out there before. So she opens up the book and starts reading the first thing that she sees. This girl starts reading the fucking Balfour Declaration. She looks at me, knowing that the Balfour Declaration set up Resolution 181. She looks at me like we both have our mouths dropped. What the fuck? I was in so much what the fuck at this point to where... And this is why I've been so persistent with the story and figuring out all of the shit and doing this until the wheels fall off. And yeah, I've solely been depending on the people that follow me on Facebook and Instagram, because that's the only place that I've posted my PayPal and Venmo, and I haven't set anything up through here, and I haven't been teaching or doing anything consistently on here. I've been on my Facebook and Instagram. I've been teaching minimally, but sharing the story all in real time, to where leaving all the mistakes, admitting all the mistakes, showing the solutions, and the whole entire process, to where it took a lot of failure to get to where I'm at now and be able to speak the story and comprehend it and have integrated it enough to where now I've made it my own, and I'm not just regurgitating something that just came in. Like, this thing's been sitting with me for months, and I've got to put it on the back burner and zoom out and be myself again. So, whenever I left her place and finding out all that stuff, and I passed through Lake Tahoe and saw a friend, stayed there for one night, and made my way into Nevada. And I was passing through some more little mining towns, and I started going. I felt like I was going the wrong way for an hour and a half, and I had GPSed just the next rest stop, and it just didn't feel right. So I turned around and GPSed the next rest stop and drove for another 2 hours, and it spit me up into this little town called Virginia City, Nevada. So, Virginia City, Nevada, I'd never even heard this place. So, to have ended up in this place, the richest mining town out of all the mining towns from the Comstock Lode. So, it was like getting out of the time machine and traveling back in time. All the flooring, all the facade of all the buildings was all original from the 1800s. And um, so I want to back up. Let's go back to Garden Valley and Sutter's Mill and the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850. While I was out there, I was driving to Auburn City. I was driving out to Placerville. Placerville was 15 minutes away from Sutter's Mill, and that place was also called Hangtown. It was called Hangtown, and they changed it to Placerville for good reasons. It was called Hangtown because they'd hung 5 people from the same tree called Hangman's Tree. So went there and investigated Hangman's Bar and Hangman's Tree, and went to Auburn City, investigated the county courthouse, the museum, which is also the Oddfellows Lodge. And the address of the Oddfellows Lodge was 1226 Lincoln Way, like Abraham Lincoln being an Oddfellow, and his mass record hanging was on 1226 of 1862 during the Civil War. And for the address to be 1226 Lincoln Way of the Oddfellows Mason Lodge, my friend that let me stay on her land, she went to shows there and was up in this room where it showed all these masons with pictures of severed heads and them holding the heads of all the indigenous that they scalped. And yeah, so I knew that that address, being 1226 Lincoln Way, was not a coincidence. So whenever I was in Placerville and I was at Hangman's Tree, Hangman's Bar, the address of the bar is 305. The gematria for Abraham Lincoln's name, 305 in gematria. When the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, 185 minutes equals 305 in time. Interesting. That's very interesting. Because the historical marker in front of Hangman's Tree, in front of Hangman's Bar, historical marker 141. So there's 37 degrees in Freemasonry, right? Leo flipped upside down is 037, like 37 degrees in Freemasonry. Leo the Lion holds the Flower of Life. There's 61 circles in the Flower of Life. When 370 minutes equals 610 in time. When 61 minutes equals 101 in time. And 101 minutes equals 141 in time. Like mile marker 141. Interesting. Why is that so interesting? Only because the Indian Removal Act of 1830 on 528, signed into law by your Grand Master Mason, President Andrew Jackson, on 1830 of 528, to the establishment of Resolution 181 on 1129 of 1947, endorsed by your other Grand Master Mason, President Harry Truman, equaling 1410 months, like 61 minutes equaling 101 and 101 minutes equaling 141 in time, linked with 37 degrees in Freemasonry. We got 2 Grand Master Masons signing a law into law and endorsing another law. Get the fuck out of here. So remember how I channeled Horus on 4-8 and 101 plus 3 months and 7 days equals 4-8, and 101 plus 4 months and 8 days equals 5/9 Lemuria, and that's when I channeled the ninth harmonic of the photon belt. And 37 degrees in Freemasonry times 48 equals 1776 when the U.S. was founded in 1776, and the Illuminati was founded on 501 in 1776. 501, May 1st, Masons, Matrix. 501 in time equals 301 minutes, when 181 minutes equals 301 in time. So for anybody to say that me channeling Horus on 4/8, that I'm the one doing some shit when I'm investigating all these original human traffickers that have been the original human traffickers since day one, the Jesuits, the Masons, the Jesuits. So who created the Jesuits? That would be Pope Alessandro Farnese, Pope Paul III. So the Freemason symbol, it's a compass and a square, right? And the letter G. That G stands for gnosis. When light passes through a crystal or your eyeball, it separates into 7 rays. The 7th meiotic cell division is the number 28. The frequency of the flower of life resonates at 128 hertz. Remember, 61 circles in the flower of life and 61 minutes equals 101. 101 plus 128 days equals 5/9 Lemuria, right? So 101 plus 1 month and 28 days equals 229. When Alessandro Farnese was born, and he created the Jesuits. So let's keep this going. 101 plus 1 month and 28 days equals 229. Alessandro Farnese's birthday, he created the Jesuits. 101 plus 128 days equals 5/9 Lemuria. 181, Ramo says it's one brother Remo, colonization. 101 plus 59 days equals the date 301, when 181 minutes equals 301 in time. 301 days equals the date 1028, like 128. And I conclude with 101 plus 10 months and 28 days equals the date 1129, the date that Resolution 181 was established, endorsed by your Grand Master Mason, President Harry Truman. So, yeah, whenever I saw that ad being 1226 Lincoln Way, and I knew the mass record hanging was on 1226, and the address of that hangman's bar being 305 when Abraham Lincoln's gematria for his full name equals 305, and fugitives say back to 1850 when 185 minutes equals 305 in time. 30.5 plus 30.5 equals 61 circles in the flower of life. 610 days equals 1 year, 8 months, and 1 day, like 181. And 1830 equals 18.5 hours, connecting the Indian River back to 1830 and the fugitive slave back to 1850. And the days of the dead on 11/1, because 1830 equals 18.5 hours equals 111 minutes, like the days of the dead on 11/1. So the Cairns burial mounds resonates at 111 hertz. Hypogeum underground temple of Malta resonates at 111 hertz. Where do we bury the dead? Underground, in burial mounds. The longest day of darkness. Oh, that's also well documented by archaeoacoustics professor Paul Devereaux out of Cambridge University. So, the longest day of darkness, that could be considered a day of death, when the sun literally sets in the same position for 3 days of solstice. On the celestial cross, the path of the sun and the horizon create the celestial cross. So if you're to observe the sun setting every single day from the same position, you would notice it moving towards longer days of darkness until it got to the winter solstice, and on 12/21, it would set in the same position for 3 days, insinuating a death, like the longest day of darkness. What happens when you go under the ground? you go into darkness. So, like the Days of the Dead on 11.1, the holy frequency 111 hertz, 111 plus 1110 equals 1221. So, this this shit's crazy. I know, buddy. I know. I'm almost done. So, after going to Placerville and then Auburn City and passing through these other two mining towns called Grass Valley and Nevada City, California, they're the next two cities that were right next to each other, both huge mining towns with Mason lodges. And whenever I passed through these two towns after Auburn City, the exits were 181, 183, and 185. And the exit to 181, whenever you exit 181, it took you to Empire Avenue, just like 181. Romo says his twin brother Remo on 59 Lemuria, the rise of the Roman Empire. What'd you think of that? And the next town was Nevada, Grass Valley. Yeah, Grass Valley, and it was exit 183, A and B. And the next town was Nevada City. The exits were 185A, 185B, and 185C. Like the Indian Removal Act of 1830 and the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 and Resolution 181. I was just basically like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. So I left, went through Tahoe, got spit out in Nevada City, Virginia City, Nevada. When I got out of my car there, it was like jumping out of a time machine. I felt like I'd gone back I felt like I'd gone back in time, and to not have planned to go there, and everything that had already happened to get there, I was just in the twilight zone. But at this point, I was excited because I knew that I was gonna be able to get a lot of work in, and I went straight into investigation stakeout mode, and I was starting to feel like I was on a little adventure here. And it's like, I feel like Indiana Jones, Mom. I wanted to call my mom and tell me, Mom, I feel like Indiana Jones right now. I'm on a case. And I don't talk to my family. They don't talk to me. They don't support this mission. They're all super political, and if you're not married with kids, you're a failure. So that's how they thought. So been on this mission for the most part alone, and the small handful of quality supporters that I do have follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and that's literally how I've made this far. So I'm in Virginia City now, and this place is known for being one of the most paranormal places in the entire U.S. And I'm researching and reading all about it. I never even knew this place existed. And before I even left on this journey, my knowledge of history was complete and utter shit. I knew nothing about his story. I knew nothing about her story. They didn't even talk about her story, for that matter. So, I'm walking in Virginia City and all this Days of the Dead stuff and Fugitive Slave Act and Indian Removal, Resolution 181. I felt like I had this connection with all the ancestors that have been genocided from this, and the story hasn't been investigated ever from a perspective of the indigenous modern day shaman studying symbols, runes, the circle, the straight line. Now, when we start getting into Anglo-Saxon Gothic Norfolk runes, the rune for the letter C and the letter K is a square. It's turned 45 degrees, and if you just turn it 45 degrees, it's an L. The third and the 11th letter, the L, 11th letter. K, a line and a fucking square on that thing. It's showing you the rune. The letter K, in capital K, shows you the rune connected to the straight line, which is a square. You turn that, it's an L. You add the E to the L, it still spells L. Flip it upside down. It's the number 73. So L mirrored and flipped equals 73. 173 minutes equals 113 in time. 113 flipped upside down is 311 once again. So we got this little mirror flipping mathematic system that works with the whole star mathematics that's been plagiarized and used by these Masons. And they're just mocking the 9 hertz and the circle, and they're using all this portal mathematics to keep everybody in this fucking time loop with this alphabet, the language, and the humiliation ritual of the 181. Think about all the humiliation rituals that have been going on since 2020 of just canceling motherfuckers. See, I was born canceled. The kid that was before me was abortioned, and my mom snuck me into this world. My dad would have known, he would have cut me loose, but I think he didn't find out until it was too late. So, but that's why this guy never liked me, and him and I never got along. But he's also the Spanish conquistador side of my family, and I'm with the indigenous side. I'm not for the colonizer, and I'm not trying to go to war with the colonizer. I'm trying to meet in the middle and create solutions, and this is all about honoring 9 hertz rather than shunning the circle and dissing it. Be like, no, you didn't create shit. This is my staff. I got a staff with a cross and my compass and my square, and I claim all the knowledge. Fuck you. Put your mask on, bitch. I control abortions. I decide when I'm gonna cut your fucking sacrum and give you a C-section. I decide when that baby's coming out. It's the man's control on the C-section, the Caesarean section, like Julius Caesar being assassinated in 44 BC. Where's the sacrum at? Right there where they cut that masculine straight line to get the baby out. And that's just a little Caesarean ritual where the man is controlling the birth time, and the ceremony of the baby is being controlled by allopathic medicine created by Standard Oil. John D. Rockefeller Sr. started Standard Oil, turned his oil byproducts into artificial vitamins and biotech, and capitalized on big pharma. And then he also started the Board of Education in 1902 and made any other type of medicine that was any type of natural healing medicine. All that shit became illegal because him and Carnegie, they had the connections with changing laws and shit. And yeah, laws got changed to where only allopathic medicine could be practiced. And who signed the Balfour Declaration? Who wrote up the Balfour Declaration that was received by Lionel Walter Rothschild, the second Baron? Chaim Weizmann, a biochemist. He's the one that wrote up the Balfour Declaration that promised Palestine to Israel back in 1917 on 11/2, like the Days of the Dead on 11/2. 59 days remain in the year, like the Lemuria 181 on 5/9. So this all connects with this is all about colonization. Colonization. The Indian Removal Act of 1830, the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, Resolution 181. Colonization, right? So speaking of colonization, the adoption of the Confederate States Constitution was on 3/11 of 1861, and that was a win, a giant victory for Jesuit slaveholders, right? The Jewish Colonization Association of 1891 was created by Maurice de Hirsch, a Bavarian philanthropist. like the Illuminati being founded in Bavaria by a former Jesuit? Huh, interesting. Yeah, so Maurice de Hirsch created the Jewish Colonization Association on 9/11, when 9/11 minutes equals 3/11 in time, like the adoption of the Confederate States Constitution on 3/11. So whenever this Bavarian philanthropist created that, he's Bavarian. He was born in Bavaria, and his father was a banker of the Bavarian king and made baron by the Bavarian king. And his grandfather was the first person to own land in Bavaria. So these guys were pretty well off and well known in the state of Bavaria, where the Illuminati was founded. And the former Jesuit established the Illuminati in 501, like 501 in time. The date 501, May 1st, Matrix, May Sons. The date 501. 501 in time equals 181. 501 in time equals 301 minutes, when 181 minutes equals 301 in time. So for this colonization association to be started on 9/11 of 1891, and the adoption of the Confederate States Constitution to be on 3/11 of 1861, and we're talking about colonization and victories for Jesuit colonizing slaveholders. So 3/11 equals 182 days after 9/11. When 182, like the Missouri Compromise of 1820, another victory for Jesuit slaveholders? I mean, this has just got to be a coincidence, right? Yeah. And, yeah. So I'm in Virginia City now, and I'm walking up the streets, and I'm getting to the top of the hill, and I'm just waiting for like ghost town type shit to happen. And I hear the song from Beetlejuice. Rub me on the line, rock your body on time. Okay, I believe you. I was like, Beetlejuice. It's a song about the dead. And I look over, there's a parked car, the license plate says Juice. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then I look over, I'm in front of the Woshu Millionaires Club. Huh, why is it called Woshu whenever the Woshu were the indigenous people that were genocided in Pyramid Lake during the Pyramid Lake War with the Paiutes and the Shoshone tribes because of the Williamson incident? The two Williamson brothers kidnapped two Paiute girls that were 13 years old, raped them, and then the Paiutes found out about it, and they took care of those boys. And then the military came back, and the Paiutes messed them up, and they won the first war, and then they came back the second time around and genocided the Shoshone, the Woshu, and the Paiutes, and a giant massacre. And for them to have that name Woshu on the Millionaires Club in Virginia City, Nevada, after all the shit that I'd already seen before, when the address is 11/2, like the Balfour Declaration issued on 11/2, like the Days of the Dead on 11/2, equaling 59 days remain, like the Lemuria honoring the dead on 5/9. And across the street, we have Mark Twain's bookstore being the address 111, like the Days of the Dead on 11/1, when Mark Twain was an advocate against slavery, against colonialism, towards the end of his career. And that was the Mark Twain bookstore. He passed away on 4/21, the 111th day of the year, just so you know that. So I make my way down to the church. The church, of course, the address being 111. And right when I walk in there, the first thing that I see when I turn to the right, Pope Francis, the first Jesuit Pope. I left. I went back outside. I go by the train station that was right around the corner. And I was there for 8 days. And every day that I was there, the bell would ring from 12:26 to 12:29 for 3 minutes. But every day from 12:26 to 12:29. Like Abraham Lincoln's mass figure hanging on 12:26. And like the Battle of Wounded Knee on 12:29. Huh. Yeah, that's whenever I was like, okay, something is really going on here. I left Virginia City with a really bad taste in my mouth, and I arrived there super giddy and excited, and left there just with that same feeling of how I left Garden Valley and Placerville, Auburn City, Nevada City, Grass Valley, Placerville. All those places just were mocking all of the people that were genocided from these acts, Freemason acts. And these acts, ACT, can also be spelt AX, like the dags. The rune for X is a dags. The dagger of the dawn is what decapitates the head of the feminine sun when the sun is going down. When it rises, it's the 9 hertz rising, and at the masculine, it's mirrored by the 6, the copycat. So once the sun goes down and the feminine sun is below the horizon, you could say that the dagger of the dawn decapitates the head, and that's why these popes wear that mitre hat. And there's mitre hats with the Confederate flag. It's literally 4 squares just connected, creating that thing. And what's the rune for a square? The third and the 11th letter, like 311, like 311 minutes equaling 311, 911 minutes equals 311 in time. And the whole Jewish Colonization Association on 9/11, and adoption of the Confederate States Constitution on 3/11, and 5/11 in time equals 3/11. Like Romo slaying his twin brother Remo on 5/11. We're talking about stories of colonization. It's 3 stories of colonization connecting mathematically. Stupid. So, from remember how the seventh matic cell division is 128 and 7 degrees, or the G in the Freemasonry is the 7th letter? We're talking about L. Just write the letter L, flip it upside down. It's a 7, like the 7th matic cell division being 128. And when light passes through a crystal, it separates into 7 rays, and the G is sitting there on the Freemason logo. The G is the 7th letter. It's like the number 7 is placed on the C. There's a letter C, and then you place the 7 in there. It creates the letter G. So remember the whole 101 plus 128 days equals 59 Lemuria and all that stuff. So let's use this. Where's I at with that? Brain's farting. Damn it. Oh yeah. So that whole number 128 and how 101 plus 128 days equals 59 Lemuria, 181. So we're talking about 181 and the frequency of the flower of life being 128, and the 7th meiotic cell division being 128, and the G in Freemasonry being the 7th letter, and all of that corresponding and collaborating. So, geez, man, my brain, I keep having what I'm going to say, and then I go off and describe it, and then I forget what I'm going to say. Give me a second. My brain's, they've been spraying chemtrails all day over here to where I'm just absorbing altered frequency electrolyte particles like barium, aluminum, strontium, cesium that are all radioactive particles, not your good electrolyte particles like bicarbonate and magnesium that our body produces through just doing natural breath work through the nostrils. But that's a whole nother video. I'll get into that shit another day. Oh yeah. So we're talking about 181. Remember, 42nd prime being 181. The Last Supper was on 4-2, like the 42nd prime being 181, and the Last Supper painting measures 181 inches. So 101 plus 128 days equals 59 Lemuria, 181. So The seventh meiotic cell division being 128. So from the date 128, the date, to the date 726, the mocking of the Last Supper painting during the opening ceremony of the Olympics on 726 equals 181 days. Like resolution 181 on 5-9 Lemurian. 101 plus 128 days equaling 5-9 Lemuria. 128 to 726, the mocking of the Last Supper, measuring 181 inches. The 42nd prime being 181. 128 to 726, the opening ceremony of the Olympics, mocking the Last Supper, being 181 days. Get the fuck out of here. So from 322, like the Brotherhood of Death, the Skull and Bones Fraternity on 322, where the number is 322, from 322 to the opening ceremony of the Last Supper, to the opening ceremony of the Olympics, mocking the Last Supper on 726, equals 18 weeks and 1 day. Like 181. The date 57 equals 18 weeks and 1 day. The date 57 equals 128 days on leap year. Like the frequency of the flower of life equaling 128 hertz. The seventh meiotic cell division being 128. Like the G being the seventh letter and the seventh. It's all about light passing through the eyeball and separating into 7 rays. The G stands for gnosis, hypnosis. And a lot of people are walking around thinking that they're fucking hip when they're under hypnosis. So, from the opening ceremony of the Olympics mocking the Last Supper on 726, the Last Supper measures 181 inches. The Last Supper was on 4-2. The 42nd prime equals 181, right? From the opening ceremony of the Olympics mocking that Last Supper painting to 1129 of the same year equals 18 weeks and 1 day, equaling 4 months and 4 days. Like 181 and 44 BC. The date 1129, that's the date resolution 181 was established back in 1917 or 1947. So from the opening ceremony of the Olympics, mocking the Last Supper painting, measuring 181 inches on 726, to resolution 181 on 1129 to equal 18 weeks and 1 day, equaling 4 months and 4 days, like 181 and 44 BC, 5-9 Lemuria. Get the fuck out of here. So, on Christmas Eve, the Pope opened up the first portal door on 1224. Now, from the opening ceremony of the Olympics, mocking the Last Supper on 726, to the opening of the first portal door on 1224 Christmas Eve by the first Jesuit Pope, equaling 4 months and 28 days. That's interesting because 4 months and 28 days equals the date 528, like 181 days equaling 5 months and 28 days. Now, from the second portal at opening of the door is on 1226, this 162 anniversary, the 162-year anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's mass record hanging. 162, 1226, they share the same numbers. So from the opening ceremony of the Olympics on from the opening ceremony of the Olympics on 726, mocking the Last Supper painting, measuring 181 inches. The Last Supper was on 4-2 when the 42nd prime equals 181, like resolution 181. From the opening ceremony of the Olympics on 726, mocking that Last Supper, to the opening of the holy portal door on 1226 equals brain fart. Glad I have this thing written down. $154 days. This door is being opened up by the first Jesuit Pope when the Jesuits were established in 1540 by Pope Alessandro Farnese. So you could even write this as from the opening ceremony of the Olympics on 726, marking that Last Supper, 181 and 181, to plus 153 days equals 1226, the opening of the Holy Portal door on the anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's mass record hanging. So that number 153, that's the number of the Vesica Pisces. At the Vatican, they got a Vesica Pisces. That's the obelisk is there with the Vesica Pisces. And if you go to the District of Columbia, columns, Washington monuments, there's a Vesica Pisces, the obelisk phallus there that they worship. And the dimensions of the Vesica Pisces is 153 divided into 265. It's like equals the square root of 3 or some shit. So the number 153, that lines, those numbers 153, they're used in a lot of colonization. So your March of Ides 315, 513, 153, 315, March of Ides. That's when Julius Caesar was assassinated in 44 BC. Just like the Lemurians celebrated on 513 in 44 BC. The Roman Republic falls, the Roman Empire begins. It's the same story of Julius Caesar being assassinated and Romo saying his twin brother Remo. This is 44 BC. The Republic ends and the Empire begins. Colonization. So, when did the first permanent British settlements arrive here on Turtle Island? On 513 of 1607, Jamestown, Virginia, named after King James. And Virginia City, Nevada, is named after Jamestown, Virginia. So, Pope Gregory the 13th, he's the one that created the Gregorian calendar. He was the ruler of the Papal States from 1572 of 513. So that number shows up everywhere. The encomienda system that gave the right for colonists to go and enslave people using this piece of paper, and that was established in 1503, like 153. So from the opening ceremony of the Olympics, mocking the Last Supper, measuring 181 inches, and Resolution 181 and all that colonization shit, to the opening ceremony of the Olympics on 12/26, the anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's mass record hanging to equal 154 days, like 1540, when the Jesuits were established. The first Jesuit Pope is opening the door. I want to fucking lose my mind. So, the next portal, the third portal, is on 12/29, the anniversary of the Battle of Wounded Knee, like the bell ringing in Virginia City at 12/26 to 12/29. So, whenever I was... No, we'll tell that story after this. Go through the rituals of the opening ceremony of the Olympics, mocking the Last Supper painting, 181 inches on 7/26. Ceremony means ritual. From 7/26, the opening ceremony of the Olympics, to the opening of the third portal door on 12/29 equals... Forgetting this one too. Doing pretty good. I wouldn't have remembered that one. And it's super easy too. It's just 22 weeks. So from the opening ceremony of the Olympics, mocking the Last Supper, measuring 181 inches on 7/26, to the opening of the third portal door on 12/29, the anniversary of Battle of Wounded Knee, the deadliest massacre on Lakota people by the U.S. Army in 1890, equals 22 weeks, separating those two rituals. 22 weeks, 22 days equals 528 hours, like 181 days equaling 5 months and 28 days. Connecting Resolution 181. Connecting the Indian Removal Act of 1830 on 5/28. 1/12/29 equals 11 months and 29 days when Resolution 181 was established. So, the next portal is on 101 of 2025. Like your 101 portal, the gematria for portals equals 101. Gematria for doorway equals 101. 61 circles in the flower of life. 61 minutes equals 101, like 37 degrees in Freemasonry, linking up with all that shit. So, from the opening ceremony of the Olympics Oh yeah, 61 minutes equaling 101, and 610 days equaling 1 year, 8 months, and 1 day, like 181. So from the opening ceremony of the Olympics, mocking the Last Supper, measuring 181 inches, on 726 to the opening of the fourth portal door on 101, January 1st of 2025, it equals 5 weeks and 7 days. When the date 5-7 equals 18 weeks and 1 day, like 181. When the date 5-7 equals 128 days, like the flower frequency equaling 128 hertz, and the seventh meiotic cell division being 128. And we started this whole thing from the date 128. The date 1028 equals 301 days, and 181 minutes equals 301 in time. The shit is not just some like little ritual and some little spell that they wrote. This thing is a multi-dimensional, incredible mathematical feat for anybody to figure this thing out. I would be damn surprised. So the fact that I did this shit, I can't even believe that my dumbass did this thing, because before any of this, I had my thumb up my ass. I was building bikes, rolling sushi for super rich people, and watching my value just go down as my skill and mastery went up. I was watching my value go down. I was like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? It's like, fuck all these people affecting my life, these pieces of shit that don't value me. And yeah. So, where am I at here? Oh, come here, man. Come here, dude. He's like, fuck you. He's like, I want to pee. I don't want you to pet. I didn't want you to pet me. So, whenever I was in Utah, I made my way back to Utah, and I was at the Capitol building, and I stopped by the crystal shop before that and told the lady, the owner of the shop, my story. And just like, right before I left, she's like, you need to stop by the Capitol. There's something there for you. And I knew that Spirit was speaking through her. And I listened to her, and I went to the Capitol and explored the place for a couple hours. And just when I was done exploring everything, I was just about to get to my car. I was walking through the courtyard out front, and was passing the very last plaque that was just on the ground, and the same voice that was all telling me before any of this happened that I was gonna have to learn math again. And I was like, no, I'm not. Go fuck yourself. It's like, you have to learn math again. And I just had to basically agree with it for it to shut up. And the same thing happened here. I was like, no, I'm good, dude. He's like, nope, go back there. Go back and look at that plaque. And I was like, oh, I'm good. It's like, and it's like, oh, it's that same voice. So I went back and looked at the plaque, read this thing, and at the bottom it says that 2 of Brigham Young's Mormon battalion were at Sutter's Mill when James Marshall panned the first gold. Apparently, Brigham Young was in debt, and he sent his Mormon battalion out to Sutter's Mill, California, to find gold. And they were there when James Marshall panned the first gold. And just like the Indian Removal Act of 1830 and the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 and the Days of the Dead on 11/1, and how 1830 in military time equals 18.5 hours equaling 1110 minutes. It took Brigham Young 111 days to arrive to Utah, landing on Pioneer Day on 7/24, the same day that the Freemasons were founded, in 7/24 of 1717. So 7/24, 181 times 4 equals 7/24. He was a board member of the Union Pacific Railroad Company from Sacramento to Promontory Point, Utah. That's the overland route. That's where Abraham Lincoln sent Patrick Connor to guard the overland route. And he was responsible for the Bear River Massacre, massacring all the Shoshone. And Brigham Young's Mormon Battalion, they were responsible for the Circleville Massacre on 4/21. 111 days, like 111, like him arriving after 111 days on Pioneer Day. So the Union Pacific Railroad from Sacramento to Promontory Point, at the Auburn City Museum, I got a picture of the plaque that says how much it cost to build that thing. $181 million and no cents. Just precisely $181 million. And it is 1110 kilometers in length. Just look at that. like the Days of the Dead on 11/1 and 1830 equaling 18.5 hours equaling 111 minutes. Like the Indian Removal Act of 1830 and the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, mocking the motherfucking shit out of the dead. So at this point, I felt like I was in Naziville at this point, being in Utah, and I went and did a stakeout on the church of the Madeleine, and it was right next to the Roman Catholic Diocese building. The address, of course, being 303, like 183 minutes equaling 303 in time, like the Indian Removal Act of 1830. So the bell went off at the Madeleine at 11:29 every day. The 8 days that I staked this place out, the bell rang every day at 11:29. Like Resolution 181, 11:29. It rang every day at 12:29, like the Battle of Wounded Knee on 12:29, and it rang every day at 1:29, like the Bear River Massacre on 1:29. And for it to be right next door to the Roman Catholic Diocese building, the address 303, 183 minutes equals 3 in time. So, according to the Hebrew Bible, Christ was crucified on the date 4-3, equaling 3 months and 3 days, like 3-3 or 303, at age 33 in 33 AD. 183 minutes equals 303 in time. Interesting. On my calendar cipher system, the date 4-3 lines up with 67 hertz, when 670 minutes equals 11:10 in time, like the Days of the Dead on 11/1. 67 minutes equals 107 in time, like when Palestine was colonized back in 2023 on 10/7. A domino effect of Resolution 181. A domino effect of the Balfour Declaration on 11/2. So, yeah, I make my way out of Utah, and I end up in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, and find another Mason Lodge there. And the one crystal shop that I went to after I was there for like a month and a half and didn't visit any place, I was just kind of sitting in my shit at this point. I was stuck. I had 2 mistakes in my calendar system that were throwing me off and spinning me in a time loop. And once I fixed those, that's when everything just freaking took the fuck off. So I'm over investigating the Mason Lodge there for the first time, and then I go to start researching what I documented over there, and I'm sitting by the river with my door wide open, and I hear this car hauling ass coming up behind me, and I go to look out, and right when I stick my head out the door, a Jeep literally flies in front of my face and nearly takes my door off my Jeep, and I had to go and ratchet strap this thing back into position and duct tape it to the position that it's in. I stopped paying insurance. I stopped paying registration. I stopped paying car payments on this thing to where I've been running from the repo man for since back in March, to where I completely dipped out of society. The only thing that I'm paying for right now is my phone bill, so I can keep sharing the story and keep documenting and have internet connection to where I can use my phone to just do this thing as fast as I can, as far as documenting and researching and reading and studying and integrating the fuck out of this, just going through a crash course to where I'm able to now speak all of this stuff to you folks without having to look at my notes unless I get like a brain fart or some shit. So I'm researching this place, getting my door knocked off, and I go back up there, and I'm just connecting some serious dots. That I met this couple at the rest stop. These 2 twins, these older ladies, and they're driving from from somewhere in Colorado towards the West Coast, and I'm like, "Where are you ladies headed?" And our dogs were vibing out and just started small talking, and like, "Oh, we're just heading back to Austin City, Nevada." I was like, "Oh, what do you girls got going out there?" It's like, "We run the Hotel International." And I was like, "Oh, the same Hotel International that burned down in Virginia City that they used the the rest of that wood to build the second Hotel International in Austin City, Nevada." And she's like, "Yeah, how do you know about that?" It's like, "Oh, I've been doing a little research on colonialism and all that stuff, and give them a little spiel of what I've been doing. And the fact that I run into these ladies, and Virginia City is now here in Glenwood. The Mason Lodge that I was at, the address being 910, like 91. And if you follow 91 on my YouTube videos, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because I might not come back out of it. So after connecting these things, this one lady that I met at the park that kind of befriended me, she gave me some landscaping work. I got to go do a fall cleanup and rake up all of her stuff and prune all the trees, and made some extra money to pay off my phone bill. And uh, yeah, it was a time where I wasn't getting that much help, to where there's been 3 or 4 different times where I've had to do some work and make some money. I'm now providing birth charts and calendars using this cipher system, to where I'm basically just giving you a very simplified version of your own. Uh, it's not the whole entire calendar. I'm basically just giving you your numbers based off of your birth chart, your birth time, your birth date, the gematria of your name, anybody that you want me to link with you with their birth name, their birth time, their birth date, and the gematria of their name, and linking all those numbers and finding 2 or 3 major synchronistic numbers that keep popping up, and they have to pop up at least 4 or 5 times, to where I'll be like, dude, this is your major number. Whenever you see this, document what's going on in the reality, because it's a sign of a major coincidence happening. And all of this has been to find our frequencies that we are born into, and finding that synchronistic cycle that we keep jumping into, if we're repeating the same cycles or if we're progressing and rising into consciousness. And I'm basically just trying to create a roadmap that gets us out of this 44 hertz altered frequency time loop. And in essence, I've created a calendar of resonance that honors the 9 hertz, versus it just being 44 hertz based and not knowing anything about 432 hertz or 9 hertz, and completely ignoring that aspect of it. So there's a there's a whole alchemical thing that I'm creating with this new calendar of resonance, now that I've got all this dark shit mapped out. So, oh yeah, this brain is fucking insane. So back to the opening ceremony of the Olympics on 7/26, where they're mocking the Last Supper, measuring 181 inches, the 42nd prime being 181. The Last Supper was on 4/2. So from the opening ceremony of the Olympics, mocking this Last Supper painting, 181, colonization, to the opening of the last portal on 1/5 of 2025 by your Jesuit Pope, equals 5 months and 11 days, like the Lemuria on 5/11, equaling 132 days. So 5/11 in time equals 311 minutes, when 911 minutes equals 311 in time, like the adoption of the Confederate States Constitution on 3/11 of 1861, a victory for the Jesuit slaveholders. Who's opening that portal? The first Jesuit Pope. And 9/11 in time equals 311 minutes, like the creation of the Jewish Colonization Association by your Bavarian philanthropist, Maurice de Hirsch, whose father was a banker of the Bavarian king, who made him baron. Baron status, just like Queen Victoria made the first Rothschild baron, and that baronship status passed down to Nathaniel Rothschild. He funded the Battle of Waterloo. And Jacob Rothschild, he funded the Battle of Napoleon, and they took the funding away from Napoleon. And Rothschild, he sold all of his stocks off and pretended that like the British was going to lose. He watched everybody copy him because they're all dipshits, and he bought them all back for pennies of the dollar, making his fortune. And then he passed down that fortune to Baron Lionel Walter Rothschild, his son, and he's the one who received the Balfour Declaration, written into law by your biochemist Chaim Weizmann, who would later become president of Israel, of course. I mean, what else would have happened? So, this, oh yeah, that lady that befriended me in Glenwood. She told me that her ancestor was uh, Oddfellow, former president, member of the Millionaire Woshu Club. Why can't I think of this dipshit's name? One of the presidents that's an Oddfellow, and he was a member at the Woshu Club in Virginia City, Nevada, and she's related to this guy. It'll come here. It's just gonna pop in whenever I'm least expecting it. And then another fellow that I met at the rest stop, he's related to the same guy too. So upon investigating the Freemason shop, my door getting knocked off, meeting these two people that are related to. Oh, it's right on the tip of my tongue now. It's not Eisenhower. It's not Dwight Eisenhower. It'll come. So I go into the crystal shop in town, the only place that I'm investigating. And keep in mind, I'm investigating the Days of the Dead and 11-1 and all that shit. And this crystal shop, it's kind of a girly type crystal shop. It's not your spiritual crystal shop. It was kind of a high end. They're selling a lot of girls' clothing, and the two girls that were running it were sisters. And I didn't waste any time, and I was like, hey, is there any history on these buildings? On this building in particular? And she's like, as a matter of fact, there is. And she pulls out this fucking folder underneath, and she's like, yeah, this was a furniture shop, and also a fucking, what's the word? A place where they sell coffins. Why can't I think of that? I had so much information going at 2 hours and 17 minutes of just tons of mathematics blasting through my brain. It was a funeral parlor. A funeral parlor, and the basement below was an embalming station. The guy that worked there was Burge. Joseph Burge, him and his wife Bertha Burge. He was a Freemason, and he was a member of the Lions Club. And all the mathematics that I've got his story posted on some of my videos, and I've got all the shorts that I do. You basically have to pause and just meditate on whatever section, because I've compacted them with so much charts and information and decodes and cases that I've deciphered that all run with the same colonization code. So yeah, that guy Joseph Burge and his wife Bertha Burge, he ended up buying that place from Schwartz, who owned that building, and he started his own practice with the whole embalming station. That place was a funeral parlor, and the only place that I go to is this place and ask the history, and it's a freaking, like, the Days of the Dead. And this guy's a Freemason. He's part of the Lions Club. The Lions Club, Leo, upside down is 37 degrees in Freemasonry. I'm at the Lions Club here, at the Lions Club Park here in Sedona. Yeah, so to connect all of those things and just randomly go in this place, and then the girl was like, yeah, actually my parents were on the first ship that arrived here in Virginia City. I was like, the one that arrived here in 1607 on 513. She's like, let me check. And she goes up and she reads the thing. It's like, yeah. And she named the boat, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? So King James, he was famous witch hunter. He genocided a lot of witches and burned them all at the stake. He was afraid of women. He thought that all women were witches, and he didn't complain one bit whenever his mother was uh, assassinated or executed from something. He basically got to take the reins. He succeeded Queen Elizabeth I, and she was working with John Dee. John Dee was another, like, Crowley type fellow. He was working with Enochian magic. He's the one that basically created the British Empire, and John Dee succeeded her, and he genocided all the witches and wrote the book Demonology, which some people say that he wrote a book writing, he was writing stuff to watch out for the witches. No, he was writing books on witchcraft because all the knowledge that they were using, they inverted all of the old shaman mathematics and all of the old pagan knowledge that was just mirroring nature. Like there are some people that were practicing some evil shit, of course. There are some evil pagans, but the innocent people that were just the stewards of the land, they're practicing stuff that just mirrored nature, and they're just manifesting good stuff to be stewards of the land and shit. But so their knowledge was stolen, their names taken, inverted, their knowledge just plagiarized. So this 37 degrees in Freemasonry. It's a building block to how they built this reality with the calendar system and all these dates, like I've been showing you. So we can look at 37 degrees in Freemasonry, like 3 months and 7 days equals the date 47, right? 47. There's also 47 degrees in Freemasonry, like President Trump. He's the 47th president that was elected this year, and the gematria for Trump is 470. 47 days equals 1129 hours, like Resolution 181 on 1129 that was set up by the Balfour Declaration on 11/2. Trump was on the Balfour Declaration coin issued in 2017. Balfour Declaration was on 11/2, like the 47th prime being 211, mirroring 11/2. So 47 days equals 1129, like Resolution 181, established on 1129 by the UN. And 131 days later, on 4/7, like the 47th prime, on 4/7, the WHO was created by the UN in 1948. And then the prime, the 47th prime, oh, this thing just disconnected on me now that I'm saying this shit. Of course you are. So the 47th prime equaling 211 and 47 minutes equaling, or 47, the 47th prime equals 211 and 211 in time. 211 in time equals 131 minutes. So 1129 plus 131 days equals 47. The UN was created. The UN created the WHO on 47, and the UN created Resolution 181 on 1129, when 47 days equals 11 months and or equals 1129 hours. Holy shit. So, which brings me to my last point. 47th prime equaling 211, when 2 months and 11 days equals 311, when the WHO declared COVID-19. And that's where I dropped the mic, because 911 minutes equals 311 in time, and 511 in time equals 311, like the Lemuria on 511, equaling 132 days, equaling 132 days on leap year, equaling 131 days, like the 47th prime, and all that shit. So 137.5 times 4.8 equaling 660 hertz. 101 plus 4 months and 8 days equals 59 Lemuria, 181. Let's double the frequency. 48 plus 48 equals 9.6. 101, or 137.5, the golden angle, the number of photons absorption, times 9.6 equals 1320, like 511 Lemuria equaling 132 days. 101 plus 9 months and 6 days equals the date 10/7, when they colonized Palestine because of Resolution 181, because of the Balfour Declaration. So this mission, channeling all this shit, has been an investigation on colonialism. And for anybody to say that me channeling Thoth or Horus, that I'm the bad guy when all these motherfuckers are genociding people from the Indian Removal Act, the Fugitive Slave Act, Resolution 181, how many people were genocided from British colonialism? Google that shit. It's going to tell you 55 million. Just like 550 days equals 18 months and 1 day, like 181, like Resolution 181. 181 days equals 5 months and 28 days, like the Fugitive Slave Act, like the Indian Removal Act of 1830 on 528. Resolution 181. All these genociding things connect. Yeah, whenever I was at that historical marker being 141 in front of Hangman's Tree, they got a dummy of a man hanging from a noose from this thing, and 37 degrees in Freemasonry, 370 minutes equals 610 in time. 61 circles in the flower of life. Leo upside down is 037. Leo the lion's holding the flower of life. 61 circles in the flower of life. 61 minutes equals 101. 101 minutes equals 141 in time, like that mile marker 141. And that 1410 months separates the Indian Removal Act of 1830, signed into law by Grandmaster Mason Andrew Jackson, and the establishment of Resolution 181 on 11/29 of 1947, endorsed by your Grandmaster Mason, President Harry Truman. So the 141st prime equaling 811, when 8 months and 11 days equals 911. Order of the Jesuits, IXXI equals 911. 811 from 141 to 811 equals 630. If you go around another 12 hours, it equals 1830, equaling 18.5 hours, equaling 1110 minutes. Like the Indian Removal Act of 1830, the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, and the Days of the Dead on 11/1. And for it to equal 630, like the date 630 equaling 181 days, and Resolution 181, this shit goes round and around, it intertwines and entangles, and it goes up the devil's anus, comes back out the nostrils, and intertwines and ties a pretzel knot of colonization, and keeps everybody in a time loop. And I'm going to be super stoked whenever people realize what the fuck I've done. I've dismantled the Gregorian calendar, connecting frequency with time, and our calendar system, revealing the fractals of space-time and creating a calendar of resonance while exposing these douche nozzles. So the more people that help share this knowledge, now that it's complete and I can back all this shit up, I just put a biochemist and engineer in their place today on social media, arguing back and forth about electrolytes and electrolyte salts and aluminum and all the shit electrolyte particles that we absorb through ionization that are affecting our inner light, and all of these codes to be messing with us. Like who created the first vaccine? Edward Jenner, a Freemason. And that was being given during the time that all those stacks of buffalo were piled up high and they were genociding motherfuckers. And what's going on during this 3/11 2020? We're being herded around like cattle by Masons, and the shit has not stopped. The Illuminati and the Masons, they all act like they're all different groups. No, we're not part of these. We're not part of these same groups. They're all part of the same groups. They're all in cahoots with each other, and they act like they're not. They're all sucking each other's ding dongs and playing with this monopoly money, and have everybody butting their heads. They're all united. The 1%, they're all united. The 99% of us, we're all butting our heads. Can't even grasp the conceptions of the divine feminine and masculine, and that's the first problem. Once we start dissecting the circle and the straight line and going from that being the foundation of your investigation, then we'll have more people like myself that can resonate this knowledge. But good news is that half of the truth is out there, and it's just sifting through and chiseling away the essentials until the truth is revealed. And we have to create our own cipher systems. I've created one for you. You guys are free to use whatever of my work that resonates and make that your window. And hit me up on Instagram and Facebook if you want birth charts. All I need is a birth time, birth date, full name, and I'll send you something simple that gives you some synchronistic numbers to pay attention into the reality with, to start documenting some synchronistic events, because the word coin is in the word coincidences. It's in the word coincidence. So the more coincidences and more coins that we collect, the more they start to gain weight and create density, and this becomes the thought seed of our most authentic story. And do you want to become the most authentic version of yourself? It sucks, but it's like anything that you want to master. You have to go through an ugly stage, and you have to suck for a little bit and fail before you master some shit. And I've been living this in real time, sucking and failing since 2021, and now it's 2024. It's about to be 2025 here in a week, and I'm just running around in my Jeep here in Sedona. I got resolution 181 on my window, research the Balfour Declaration, and free humans on the back window. And I'm not giving out free humans, I'm saying to actually free the fucking humans. Got a lot of people looking at me like, what's his doors all smashed and he's got research on 181. It's like, wipe that face off your head. Research the Balfour Declaration, biatch. Alright, I'm gonna leave you guys with that. But until next time.